A German shepherd, moments away from euthanasia, somehow mustered the strength to wrap his paws around his devastated owner, what everyone believed would be their final embrace. The veterinarian stood frozen, tissues in hand, as this powerful display of love unfolded before their eyes. But just when all hope seemed lost, something happened that medical science could not explain. This story of incredible loyalty and an unexplainable miracle will forever change how you see the bond between humans and dogs. In the small town of Riverdale, Marcus Thornton, a 38-year-old firefighter, lived a quiet life with his 8-year-old German shepherd, Max. Unlike an ordinary pet, Max had been there through it all: Marcus's divorce, his mother's passing, and the harrowing nightmares that plagued him after a rescue gone wrong. Their bond transcended simple companionship. Max was his silent guardian, the one who understood Marcus's pain without a single word. The trouble began on an otherwise perfect spring morning. Max, usually energetic and alert at breakfast, remained curled up in his bed, his eyes dull and empty. His once voracious appetite had vanished. His water bowl sat untouched since the previous evening. When Marcus knelt beside him, Max struggled just to lift his head, his tail offering only the faintest twitch, a shadow of its usual enthusiastic wag. "Come on, buddy," Marcus whispered, his voice cracking as he stroked Max's thick fur. "Let's get you to Dr. Collins." The 20-minute drive to Riverdale Veterinary Hospital felt like an eternity. In the passenger seat, Max's breathing grew increasingly labored, his powerful frame seeming smaller somehow against the leather upholstery. Each bump in the road elicited a soft whimper that pierced Marcus's heart like a knife. Dr. Amanda Collins, who had known Max since he was a puppy, lost her normally cheerful demeanor the moment she saw him. After a thorough examination and urgent blood work, she guided Marcus into her office, away from Max, now lying weakly, hooked up to an IV. "I'm so sorry, Marcus," she said gently, her eyes conveying what words could barely express. "Max has acute kidney failure. His blood work shows toxin levels that are, well, they're not compatible with life." Marcus shook his head in disbelief. Just 3 days ago, they'd completed their usual 5-mile hike along the Riverdale trails. "Has he gotten into anything unusual? Antifreeze? Certain plants?" Dr. Collins pressed. Marcus could only shake his head again, feeling the ground fall away beneath him. "And there's more," Dr. Collins continued reluctantly. "The ultrasound revealed multiple tumors throughout his abdomen, aggressive ones. They're likely causing his organs to shut down." The world seemed to stop spinning as Marcus absorbed her words. "What can we do? Surgery? Dialysis? I'll pay anything, do anything," Marcus pleaded. Dr. Collins placed a gentle hand on his trembling forearm. "Marcus, even if we could stabilize him temporarily, the cancer is too widespread. He's in considerable pain now, and it will only get worse. The kindest thing would be to—" "No," Marcus interrupted, a sob catching in his throat. "Not yet. I can't. I need time to say goodbye." Outside the window, dark clouds gathered, as if the sky itself mourned. Dr. Collins agreed to make Max as comfortable as possible for a few final hours. Back in the exam room, Marcus sat on the floor beside Max's bed, his calloused hand stroking the shepherd's graying muzzle. The hospital's usual bustle faded into the background, nothing mattering except the rhythmic sound of Max's labored breathing. 8 years of memories rushed back, the awkward, big-eared puppy he'd brought home, the countless sleepless nights after the Millfield factory fire, the silent comfort Max provided after his mother's death. "You've never let me face anything alone," Marcus whispered, tears streaming freely down his weathered face. "And I'm not going to leave you now." Dr. Collins allowed Marcus to take Max to the hospital's private garden, a quiet, sacred space designed for heartbreaking goodbyes. Under the shade of a maple tree, Marcus laid out Max's favorite worn blue blanket, the one that usually sat at the foot of his bed. His phone buzzed constantly with messages from the fire station crew, desperate to say goodbye. But Marcus couldn't bring himself to answer. This final moment belonged to him and Max alone. As afternoon turned to evening, a gentle rain began to fall, as if the heavens themselves wept. Marcus never left Max's side, telling him stories, recounting their adventures. "Remember when you found that little girl during the storm, buddy? Everyone thought she was gone. But you wouldn't give up," his voice broke. "You saved so many lives. You saved mine, too, you know." At the sound of Marcus' cracking voice, something remarkable happened. Despite his weakness, Max lifted his head, his cloudy eyes fixed intently on Marcus. With a staggering effort that defied his failing body, the shepherd shifted, inching closer to his human companion. The overnight staff had never witnessed such a display of devotion. Marcus refused to leave. He spent the night sleeping on the floor beside Max's bed, in the dim glow of the recovery ward. By morning it was clear. Max's breathing was shallow, his body fragile. Dr. Collins's somber face said what Marcus already knew. It was time. They moved Max to the garden room, a tranquil sanctuary with windows overlooking a courtyard blooming with flowers and a trickling fountain. Two assistants gently placed Max on a soft blanket, where sunlight filtered through the windows. Birds flitted at feeders outside. A gentle breeze stirred the maple leaves. Simple pleasures Max had always loved. Dr. Collins explained what would happen. A sedative first, then the final injection. "Take all the time you need," she whispered, placing the sedative nearby. Marcus knelt beside his best friend, running his fingers through Max's thick fur, memorizing every detail, the same fur that had soaked up his tears so many times before. "You've been the best friend I could have ever asked for," Marcus whispered, his voice breaking. "I don't know how to say goodbye. I don't know how to walk into that empty house without you." At these words, something extraordinary happened. With what seemed like impossible strength, Max lifted his head. Pain flickered across his face, but determination burned in his eyes. In one astonishing, deliberate movement, Max raised his front legs and wrapped them around Marcus's shoulders, a canine embrace so pure, so intentional, it left everyone in the room breathless. The veterinary staff stood transfixed, tears streaming down their faces. This wasn't a muscle spasm. This was love, raw, powerful, unmistakable. Max held the embrace for nearly 30 seconds, his muzzle resting against Marcus's neck as if trying to comfort him one last time. "I've never seen anything like this," Dr. Collins whispered to her assistant, discreetly wiping her own tears. "Not in 20 years of practice." The moment was too sacred to interrupt. It was a final gift, one last miracle from a dog who had always been more than just a companion. When Max finally relaxed his grip, easing back onto the blanket, his breathing had grown more labored, the effort clearly having cost him his remaining strength. Marcus knew they had reached the inevitable moment. With trembling hands, he nodded to Dr. Collins. "It's time," he said, his voice barely audible. "I won't let him suffer any more." Dr. Collins approached with the syringe containing the sedative, her movements gentle and respectful. "This will help him relax first. He'll feel like he's drifting off to sleep." Marcus cradled Max's head in his lap as the medication was administered. He stroked the shepherd's ears, just the way Max had always loved, whispering reassurances as the tension gradually left the dog's body. Within minutes, Max's breathing deepened, his eyes growing heavy yet still fixed on Marcus's face. "Once he's fully sedated, I'll administer the final medication," Dr. Collins explained softly. "He won't feel any pain or distress." Outside the window, the spring sun emerged from behind a cloud, casting a warm, golden light across the room. A butterfly, brilliant blue and seemingly out of season, landed momentarily on the windowsill before fluttering away. Later, Marcus would recall this detail with wonder. But in this moment, his entire world had narrowed to the beloved companion drifting away in his arms. Dr. Collins checked Max's reflexes, confirming he was deeply sedated and comfortable. She prepared the final injection, the one that would stop his heart, ending his suffering once and for all. Marcus bent low, pressing his forehead against Max's. "Run free, buddy," he whispered. "No more pain where you're going." Just as Dr. Collins approached with the syringe, Max's left ear twitched. Then, inexplicably, his eyes opened, not with the glazed look of sedation, but with sudden, startling clarity. Before anyone could react, the German shepherd let out a soft woof, impossibly alert given the powerful sedative coursing through his system. The room fell silent. All eyes turned to Max. It was impossible, medically impossible, for him to be alert after receiving a sedative dose appropriate for his weight. Yet there he was, lifting his head and looking around with growing awareness. Dr. Collins froze, syringe still in hand, her medical training at odds with what she was witnessing. "This shouldn't be happening," she whispered, setting the syringe down and quickly retrieving her stethoscope. Pressing it to Max's chest, her eyes widened. His heart rate, it stabilizing, strengthening actually. Marcus hardly dared breathe as Dr. Collins continued her examination, checking Max's gums, eyes, and reflexes with increasing bewilderment. The German shepherd remained focused, his eyes tracking every movement, a far cry from the semi-conscious state he should have been in. "I need to run more tests," Dr. Collins said, her voice regaining its professional edge despite her obvious confusion. "Marcus, this is unprecedented." The next hours passed in a blur of activity. Blood was drawn, ultrasounds performed, vitals monitored continuously. The veterinary hospital staff moved with renewed urgency, their earlier solemnity replaced by focused determination and undisguised amazement. Through it all, Max remained alert, his condition seemingly improving by the hour, despite the dire prognosis that had prompted this final visit. By late afternoon, Dr. Collins called Marcus into her office, her expression a complex mixture of confusion, excitement, and scientific caution. Spread across her desk were Max's latest test results, images from the morning ultrasound, juxtaposed with ones taken just hours later. "I've consulted with 3 colleagues, including an oncologist," she began, pushing the images toward Marcus. "The tumors we identified yesterday, they're shrinking, not just appearing smaller due to reduced inflammation, actually shrinking. His kidney function is improving too, though it's still compromised." Marcus stared at the images, trying to process what he was hearing. "What does this mean? Is he going to be okay?" Dr. Collins removed her glasses, rubbing the bridge of her nose. "Marcus, I've been a veterinarian for 18 years. I've never seen anything like this. Medically speaking, what we're witnessing shouldn't be possible. The only explanation I can offer is that we somehow misdiagnosed the condition. But even that doesn't explain the dramatic turnaround." She leaned forward, her voice lowering slightly. "Some of my staff are calling it a miracle. I'm not prone to such terminology. But scientifically, I'm at a loss to explain it any other way." The following week was filled with cautious optimism as Max's condition continued to improve in ways that defied every medical expectation. The tumors shrank day by day. His kidney function steadily returned to normal. His energy slowly came back. Dr. Collins documented everything meticulously, knowing Max's case would likely be studied by veterinary oncologists around the country. She had already received calls from specialists at 3 different universities, all eager to examine the German shepherd who had essentially risen from death's door. Marcus spent every possible moment at the hospital, arriving before his shifts at the fire station and returning immediately after. News of Max's miraculous recovery spread quickly through Riverdale, bringing a steady stream of well-wishers. The local newspaper ran a front-page story titled, "The Hug That Healed Riverdale's Miracle Dog," featuring a photograph of Marcus and Max sitting together in the hospital garden. 10 days after the remarkable turnaround, Dr. Collins finally agreed Max could return home. Though he still required medication and follow-up visits, the German Shepherd walked out of the hospital on his own 4 legs, something that would have been unimaginable just days earlier. "I still can't provide a scientific explanation," Dr. Collins admitted, as she handed Marcus a detailed care plan. "The oncologist is calling it a spontaneous remission of unprecedented scale. But even that doesn't adequately describe what we witnessed. Whatever happened that day, that moment when he embraced you, it triggered something beyond our medical understanding." Marcus's fire station colleagues prepared a surprise welcome-home celebration. They transformed his small backyard with decorations, a special cushioned bed for Max on the porch, and a hand-painted banner that read, "Welcome Home, Miracle Max." Chief Ramirez presented Max with a custom firefighter bandana, officially reinstating him as the station's mascot. "You know," the chief said quietly to Marcus as they watched Max receiving gentle pets from the crew, "I've never been much for supernatural stuff, but what happened with Max? It makes you wonder if there's more out there than we understand. That bond between you two, it's something special." That night, for the first time in nearly 2 weeks, Marcus slept in his own bed with Max curled up in his usual spot, at the foot. Though thinner and moving carefully, the German Shepherd's presence filled the home with a warmth Marcus had feared was lost forever. As he drifted off to sleep, Marcus found himself wondering about the mysterious forces that had allowed this second chance. Was it love, some unknown biological mechanism, or something truly divine? 6 months later, on a crisp autumn morning, Marcus and Max stood at the summit of Eagle Ridge Trail, their favorite hiking spot from before Max's illness. The journey had not been easy. Recovery came with setbacks, days when Max's energy flagged, nights when pain resurfaced, and a frightening week when his kidney values temporarily spiked. But through it all, their bond only strengthened, forged anew in the crucible of near loss. Max looked nothing like the dying dog from that fateful spring day. His coat had regained its luster, his eyes their bright alertness. Only a few small scars from IV lines and tests served as physical reminders of his brush with death. At 8.5 years old, he showed occasional signs of aging, a slight stiffness after naps, a touch more silver around his muzzle, but remained remarkably vibrant. Dr. Collins continued to monitor him closely, publishing a case study that generated significant attention in veterinary circles. Researchers proposed various theories: misdiagnosis, unusual immune responses, the effects of specific medications, but none fully explained the dramatic recovery that had occurred precisely when Max had embraced Marcus. The case even sparked interest beyond the scientific community. A documentary filmmaker contacted Marcus about featuring Max's story in a project exploring the deep, inexplicable connections between humans and animals. Letters arrived weekly from pet owners around the country, sharing their own stories of hope, inspired by the German Shepherd who had defied death. Standing on the overlook, Marcus watched as Max explored the familiar terrain, nose twitching, as he investigated the sense of wildlife that had passed through earlier. This simple joy, seeing his companion alive and engaged with the world, never failed to fill Marcus with profound gratitude. "You know, sometimes I still wake up in the middle of the night just to check you're really there," Marcus confessed, kneeling to ruffle Max's fur as the dog returned to his side. "Whatever miracle happened that day, I'm grateful for every extra moment it's given us." Max responded by placing his paw on Marcus's arm, a gesture that now carried even deeper meaning given everything they had endured. Whether coincidence or cosmic intervention, their story had touched countless lives, reminding people of the mysterious power in the bond between humans and their animal companions. As they began their descent back down the trail, the setting sun cast long, golden shadows through the trees. Marcus had always considered himself a practical man, skeptical of the unexplained, but Max's miracle had fundamentally changed him. Some bonds, he now believed, were powerful enough to alter fate itself, powerful enough, perhaps, to create miracles. If this story touched your heart, subscribe to the channel and leave a like. Share it with someone who loves inspiring stories and help us spread messages of courage, hope, and the incredible bonds we share with our four-legged family members.